Today our topic is the dark side of pleasure, Stoic insights. Life is full of moments that bring us joy, comfort, and satisfaction. We all seek pleasure in one way or another. It could be the joy of eating our favorite food, the excitement of buying something new, or the happiness of achieving a goal. But have you ever stopped to think about the other side of pleasure? What happens when we chase pleasure too much? What happens when we let it control our lives? The Stoics, ancient philosophers who lived thousands of years ago, had a lot to say about this. They believed that pleasure, while enjoyable, has a dark side. It can lead us astray, make us weak, and even take away our freedom. Let's explore this idea and see what lessons we can learn from Stoicism to live a better, more meaningful life. First, let's talk about what pleasure really is. Pleasure is a feeling of happiness or satisfaction. It comes from doing things we enjoy, like spending time with loved ones, eating good food, or relaxing after a long day. There's nothing wrong with enjoying these things. In fact, they make life more enjoyable. But the problem starts when we become too attached to pleasure. When we start to believe that we need pleasure to be happy, we lose control over our lives. The Stoics believed that true happiness doesn't come from external things like money, fame, or pleasure. It comes from within. It comes from being in control of our own minds and emotions. One of the key ideas in Stoicism is the concept of self-control. The Stoics believed that we should not let our emotions or desires control us. Instead, we should control them. This means not letting pleasure dictate our actions. For example, imagine you love eating sweets. Eating a piece of cake might bring you pleasure, but eating the whole cake might make you feel sick. If you let your desire for sweets control you, you might end up eating too much and feeling worse afterward. The Stoics would say that this is the dark side of pleasure. It feels good in the moment, but it can lead to negative consequences if we're not careful. Another important Stoic idea is the concept of moderation. The Stoics believed that we should enjoy life's pleasures, but in moderation. This means not overindulging in anything, whether it's food, drink, or entertainment. They believed that too much pleasure can make us weak and dependent. For example, if you spend all your time watching TV or playing video games, you might neglect your responsibilities or miss out on important opportunities. The Stoics would say that this is another example of the dark side of pleasure. It can distract us from what's truly important in life. The Stoics also believed that pleasure can create a false sense of security. When things are going well, and we're enjoying life, we might start to believe that this will last forever. But life is unpredictable. Things can change in an instant. The Stoics warned against becoming too attached to pleasure because it can make it harder to deal with difficult times. For example, if you're used to living a comfortable life, you might struggle when faced with challenges or hardships. The Stoics believed that we should prepare ourselves for adversity by not becoming too dependent on pleasure. They taught that we should be able to find happiness even in difficult situations. One of the most famous Stoic philosophers, Seneca, wrote a lot about the dangers of pleasure. He said that pleasure can be like a drug. It feels good at first, but over time, we need more and more of it to feel the same level of satisfaction. This can lead to a never-ending cycle of chasing pleasure, which can leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled. Seneca believed that true happiness comes from living a virtuous life, not from chasing after fleeting pleasures. He said that we should focus on developing qualities like wisdom, courage, and self-discipline, rather than seeking out temporary pleasures. Another Stoic philosopher, Epictetus, taught that we should be careful about what we allow ourselves to desire. He believed that our desires can easily get out of control if we're not careful. For example, if you desire wealth, you might never feel satisfied, no matter how much money you have. Epictetus said that the key to happiness is to desire only what is within our control. This means focusing on things like our own thoughts, actions, and character, rather than external things like money, fame, or pleasure. He believed that by doing this we can free ourselves from the constant need to chase after pleasure. The Stoics also believed that pleasure can make us forget about what's truly important in life. When we're focused on enjoying ourselves, we might neglect our relationships, our responsibilities, or our personal growth. The Stoics believe that life is about more than just seeking pleasure. It's about living a meaningful and purposeful life. They believe that we should strive to be good people, to help others, and to make a positive impact on the world. They taught that true happiness comes from living in accordance with our values and principles, not from indulging in fleeting pleasures. So, how can we apply these Stoic insights to our own lives? First, we can start by being more mindful of our desires. Before chasing after something that brings us pleasure, we should ask ourselves if it's really worth it. Will it lead to long-term happiness or just temporary satisfaction? Second, we can practice moderation. This means enjoying life's pleasures, but not overindulging. We should strive to find a balance between enjoying life and taking care of our responsibilities. Third, we can focus on developing our inner strength and self-control. This means not letting our emotions or desires control us, but instead taking control of our own minds and actions. The Stoics also believed in the importance of gratitude. They taught that we should be grateful for what we have, rather than constantly chasing after more. By practicing gratitude, we can learn to appreciate the simple pleasures in life, like spending time with loved ones or enjoying a beautiful sunset. This can help us find happiness in the present moment, rather than always seeking out new sources of pleasure. Finally, the Stoics believed that we should prepare ourselves for adversity. Life is full of ups and downs, and we can't always control what happens to us. But we can control how we respond to it. By not becoming too attached to pleasure, we can build resilience and strength, which will help us face life's challenges with courage and grace. In conclusion, the dark side of pleasure is that it can lead us astray if we're not careful. It can make us weak, dependent, and distracted from what's truly important in life. But by following the teachings of the Stoics, we can learn to enjoy life's pleasures in moderation, develop our inner strength, and live a meaningful and purposeful life. Remember, true happiness doesn't come from external things like money, fame, or pleasure. It comes from within. It comes from being in control of our own minds and emotions, and from living in accordance with our values and principles. So the next time you're tempted to chase after pleasure, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself if it's really worth it, and remember the wisdom of the Stoics. By doing so, you can avoid the dark side of pleasure and find true happiness and fulfillment in life.